And joining us now is Gordon Chang, author of The Great U.S.-China Tech War and the Coming Collapse of China. Gordon, welcome back. Always great to have you on. As we just heard from Owen, China and Russia conducted those joint exercises near Japan today. What more can you tell us about that? And what do you think this signals?
That exercise, Tracy, included strategic bombers. In other words, nuclear-capable planes. And that is, of course, a message to Japan and the region. And that was while President Biden and the leaders of the Quad were in Tokyo. So China and Russia are working together. They're signaling to the world they will fight together. And they're signaling to the world that they're willing to use their most destructive weapons. This is intimidation tactics. And unfortunately, as we saw from President Biden changing his sentiments on defense of Taiwan, those intimidation tactics might actually be working.
Yeah, and Gordon, how concerning is this? And also, do you think those comments made by President Biden about defending Taiwan militarily, do you think that may have sparked this show of force, or do you think this was something that was planned long before?
Yeah, these exercises, especially of this nature, working China and Russia together, involving coordination, those take weeks to plan. But I think that they were planned to coincide with the Quad meeting because they knew that this was going to occur. And so therefore, they wanted to show up, as it were. So not necessarily because of Biden's comments, but because Biden was going to be with other leaders in Japan.
Yeah, another big story related to China, especially for Catholics right now, Cardinal Zen's court appearance today in Hong Kong after his arrest the other week. Gordon, how do you see this all playing out, and what do you think can and should be done to help support Cardinal Zen?
Well, it's interesting that Cardinal Zen and the 5 others were arrested under the national security law, but they were only charged for a technical violation under Hong Kong society's ordinance. And maybe that was because of the pressure from the international community. Maybe they had planned that all along. But I think we've got to be clear, Tracy, that China's plan is to eliminate all faith from Hong Kong. Of course, they're far from doing that now, but they've started on the road. And so I think that the international community has a number of things. One of them is to make sure that Hong Kong is no longer a separate member in the World Trade Organization and other bodies, because China right now is ruling Hong Kong directly. So there's no justification for Hong Kong to be treated better than China.
Yeah, and I'd also like to mention that today, incidentally, is also the World Day of Prayer for the Church in China. Of course, we're all praying for Cardinal Zen and the others. That said, Gordon, any final thoughts as far as when it comes to Cardinal Zen and what we see playing out right now?
Yeah, we need to see much more support from the United States and others for Cardinal Zen, more than just words. We need to have sanctions on China, and we need to have sanctions on China's top leaders, because the arrest of Cardinal Zen and the persecution of Christians and other people of faith comes from the very top of the Chinese political system. We've got to acknowledge that, and if we do, we'll show China's leaders that we're not afraid of them and that we are willing and able to protect people of faith.
And Gordon, before I let you go, really quickly, what else are you following?
Well, right now, it's the Chinese economy, which is in dire straits with the lockdowns and with the fundamental problems in the economy. This, I think, is going to drive Chinese leaders to be even more provocative and belligerent than usual. So these guys can take us by surprise. We've got to be vigilant, and we've got to be resolute in the defense of not only our country, but our friends and partners and our way of life.
Well, Gordon, as always, thank you so much for your analysis. We always appreciate it.
Thank you, Tracy.